Kubor nakaslem jong unongsan Hima.
Menteri Rangba Kajela Conrad ke Sangma hene ke singi ke arpu sauterik urisau arajar arpu ar ulapalat Paidbah ya ka kwat ka bakarteng ke values must come alive kabala tho do Emeritus Archbishop Thomas Menam Parampil ha ka jinga dan lang umos Reverend Archbishop Victor Lingdo uba David Imli Chairman Barim ka UPSC ki pastor ki phadar kiri Rangba bat kiwei habakran hakani ka singi na kalyang menteri Rangba ulong bakani ka kot ka kran komno ban em ka jing em ka badai da ka jing iet ka jing sok bat ka jing teldi ula ban rap ru da ka baong ba usngo komen bandan mentalang ha ka ban pelat ya kani ka kon par loong ba ka jing no senyang ka bau Archbishop Thomas Menam Parampil ula le na ka banta ka than chite la mingi ka long hadu kata ula ban rap da ka baong ba ki kam ki bau Archbishop ula le kini sa ha ki Paidbah jong ka than chate la mingi baro ka wei
great idea about this book that has been released just a few minutes back. And I, in fact, after listening to everybody, really feel honored to be a part of this book release because what I have heard from all the different people who have spoken about this book and what, of course, we all know about Archbishop Thomas, it gives me great pleasure and honor to be here. So thank you so much for inviting me and allowing me to be part of this, I should say, a very, very memorable and most importantly, a very meaningful book release that we have today. I don't think I am the right person to really go into the details of the different chapters of this book. The way Professor David has explained everything, I think, in fact, we could also have another book by Professor David also, and the way he had explained and linked up everything. And as we all know, he's an expert. He knows, almost all subjects. So I don't think I'm the right person to comment on this, but definitely I would like to say this: that number one, the contributions that have been made by Archbishop Thomas, apart from all the different things that he has done for the people of the region, he was also my father's teacher. He forgot to mention, the others forgot to mention that. So he was Mr. Pyllait Sangma, late Pyllait Sangma's teacher also, which he just told me just now. And so it gives me so much more pleasure, in fact, and an honor to be here in his presence. A person who had been responsible in shaping Mr. Pyllait Sangma to what he became in his life. So thank you so much, Archbishop, and it's been a great honor and a pleasure to meet you. And of course, as I said, the contributions that Archbishop has made to the people of the Northeast, especially, and in very, very difficult times, I think it speaks immensely about his personality and, more importantly, the purpose with which he has been, brought into the religious life that he is right now, that God had chosen him for a specific reason to be where he is. And he was driven by this sense of purpose to be able to really make a difference in the region and help the people of our region. So the contributions made are immense. And today I think the fact that this book has so many things which I have just heard are going to be relevant for us as a society, as an individual, and of course even as political leaders. I think everything that I could hear and I could absorb what I heard, it made a lot of sense in terms of a lot of issues that we are facing today. And the topic, or I'm sorry, the title of the book, which says values must come alive, I think it's a very, very relevant topic in today's world. Just about 2 days back, I was in Goa and I was attending the Xavier's Board annual triennial meeting, which takes place every 3 years. And the Archbishop of Nagpur was there. And we were discussing about many things. Those who may not know, the Xavier's Board basically is the board where all the Catholic institutions from all the different bodies that we have, like the Xavier's colleges and schools, the Loyolas, the Don Boscos, and so on and so forth. So about 300 principals and vice chancellors were there. So it was a very, very kind of important meeting that would really kind of give the direction to how these institutes would work in the coming months and years. And so in that particular meeting and program, Archbishop of Nagpur was mentioning about values. And it just so happens that today I'm here, just 2 days later, and again we are here talking about values must come alive. And Archbishop of Nagpur, his name was Archbishop Gonzalez, and he mentioned precisely the same points about the importance of these different values that today are not disappearing, but somehow are not there in the way that it should be, especially keeping in mind the way, the distractions that are there in our society. And he kept on saying that the schools, the colleges have a very important role in ensuring that the youngsters especially do not lose these values that are there. Simple values of humility, as we mentioned, we saw the beautiful performance by the sisters and the placards that they had, and talked about just simple things like humility, simple things like compassion, like responsibility, and of course Archbishop was mentioning about the fact that he was mentioning about Germany. He was in Germany a few weeks back, and he said that when he went to the church, he saw that there were only old people in the church, and the youngsters were not coming to church anymore. And he felt that this entire push towards realizing that even our youngsters need to understand the value of God in their life. And all these basic ideas was something that Archbishop Gonzalez was talking about. And as I said, it's just so amazing to see that we are here today and it's the same thing being repeated. So it just shows the kind of importance that this particular issue has today in our lives, and how somewhere our seniors, our elders are realizing that it is not happening in the way that it should. And if this is not there, then we will lose our way forward in the days to come. And therefore, it is a very, very serious issue. And I'm thankful to Archbishop Thomas for having brought these issues out and having stressed on the need to have these values today in our lives. I was really also, taken aback in one way at the detailed way Professor David Saylor was explaining about how the different aspects about conflict resolution and all these aspects that came in. As a politics and person who has to handle a lot of complicated situations, I realized that there are few things and areas which Professor David was mentioning about the work of Archbishop Thomas, and there's certain times when we are trying to solve some problems. I realize that we sometimes don't actually look at the problems. We end up actually looking at the results and thinking that the results are problems. I was speaking to my caretaker in the house, who's with my younger daughter, and the flight was delayed. And she told me that the flight got delayed, sir, that's why we reached late. So I said, why did the flight get delayed? So she said, the flight got delayed because the gate changed. So then I was thinking to myself that in all likelihood, the gate changed because the flight got delayed. and not that the flight got delayed because the gate changed. The reason I'm trying to tell you this is that a lot of times in life, as well as in different situations we face, we look at the result and we think that that is the problem, and we miss out the actual problem that is the reason why that result took place. Like, for example, the conflict resolutions we have. What work that Archbishop Thomas and the entire peace committees have been doing is that when we have insurgency, for example, in the Northeast, a lot of times we look at insurgency and we think that that is actually the problem. But we don't realize that insurgency is a result of the problems that we are facing. It's not the problem in itself. And hence we will go back to the drawing board and figure out where we are going wrong. And insurgency has got multiple factors like unemployment is a huge factor, the youth and the right direction being given to the youth is a very important factor, different ethnic differences that are there need to be addressed in the right way, empathy is very important, and we realize that this kind of issues where we need to address the problems and understand them first before we start addressing it is very critical. We also realize that a bigger problem is always going to be a big problem. We need to break them down into small problems and make them into solvable solutions that are there. So it's very important that one has to realize that in order to be able to go into this conflict resolutions, you need to be able to identify the real problem, break these problems down into small bits of problems, and then you need to realize that to solve the problem also, you cannot always discuss the problem from the point of view of what you think is right. A lot of times, a lot of people think that the position that they have is what they want to do. But one has to realize that it's not the position that you want. It's what is your interest that matters, not your position. You see, a lot of times, I'll give you a small example about the border issues. When we talk about the border issues, and Assam keeps saying that this is Meghalaya, this is Assam, I think we'll never be able to resolve the problem because both will ask for the same locations. But once we start saying that what is your interest and what is my interest, what is it that we really want to solve? What we really want to solve is that we want to solve the differences. We want to solve this, the violence that goes on between us. We want to ensure that the interest of our people is kept. So when you start looking at it from an interest point of view and what you want, rather than a point of position, then you start to really understand that, well, there may be a solution that will take care of both our interests. It's not necessary that we have to stick to the positions that we have, but stick to the interests that you have. And try to figure out a solution that is going to be able to address both your interests and solve both interests without compromising any of the two organizations or governments. So it is very important to also see it from a point of interest and not from a point of position. What is it that you want? What are your interests that are there? And I think these kind of small things are experiences that I'm sure that Archbishop Thomas has had in his many problem solvings and conflict resolutions that he has done.
I was forgetting so many things that they reminded me of, and I'm grateful to them for what they have done. And Reverend and other friends that have come and have taken part in this program, different institutions. I will not go into the community, but for your collective presence. Values will come alive when they are collectively aware that it is important. Not one or two, all of us together feel this is important, values come alive, truly. Now, when things go well, when we can rely upon people, we can trust the institutions, and systems work. When agreements are reliable, promises are kept, then we feel happy. And that's the kind of society in which we grew up. In our tribal society, it is precisely this. Now, we are asking, is it exactly that in present context has time changed? I'm only thinking about dreaming with Mr. Sangma, for example. He was a student, he was a companion in the sense, he also became a teacher in Devradas straight away. We kept in touch during his his young days as a teacher, professor, myself also as a young priest, looking for how we can help society as a whole. My family was young. And the leadership was full of idealism. So, Maulam as well, he was the chief minister, Maula's and companions. And we were thinking often together about what is good for our communities, and what is good for our society, what direction they are going, what threats they bring to our society. Small communities, threats from major forces at the national level and other levels, what can threaten us? One important thing that we learned is we threaten ourselves. It is often other forces may threaten us and we need to be on the guard, but often we undermine our own interests. For example, we fight for political autonomy. Statehood come only because there was a little pressure for autonomy. Even there were some groups that were asking for independence. Well, political autonomy and the economic self-reliance or support grants and assistances from those who can afford from the center and so on. These are all very important. When you have greater political influence, these sets are ensured. Political autonomy to a great extent and economic self-sufficiency or assurance or support to a great extent. But if meantime we have forgotten values, power, political power, economic self-sufficiency, money, wealth, well-being, but no values, we collapse. And that is possible, and lamentably that is what is happening in many parts of our country. It is not just ourselves, it is happening at the world level. Even American society is self-critical, say, when business communities dominate political decisions, lobbies control Senate decision-making. They say, in whose hands are we? Are we in safe hands? When that happens at the international level, national level, and regional level, and so on, we get around. One thing is to point finger. Our book tries to avoid pointing finger at someone else. It is we together. It is need that we spoke about dialogue. A dialogue in which you say you may have made some mistake, but also you are willing to listen, I may have made some mistake. In other words, civil society with leadership with civil society, with different religious groups, cultural groups, religious groups, ethnic groups, and ideologically different groups. And India is today in this specific situation, but dialogue is possible. Not only we don't join hands to point hands at someone else, but we join hands together. And this is what we spoke about, general action. There is a period of criticism, legitimate, that is, collective thinking is criticism. When I criticize political leadership, for example, it is a citizen right. It is invited, please think about it, because this is required for society. It is not a negative criticism. It is co-thinking. And then we say, you're right, to the extent right, but maybe in this area you're not right. This is dialogue that is possible between communities, different groups, different leadership, different party leaderships, and society as a whole. And when we do that, then there is a consensus emerging, and we look towards tackling the consensus. And I will just end with only one thought. Northeast India, I will not say we are largely led by leadership, tribal leadership, but our tribal community constitute a significant portion of our society of Northeast India. We have something to contribute to the region, to the nation. When societies that were in isolation, when they emerge on the national scene, I was speaking, we were discussing with Mr. Sangma, Mr. Maulam, and many others. We used to talk about keeping ideas before us. There were days of idealism, young students, young professors, they were all looking to our minds full of idealism. And we say, we have something to contribute as individual persons, collectively adopt this religion. Because these values are very precious to our communities. Values of responsibility of leadership, for example. Values of reliability of whatever you say, whatever you promise. We trusted each other, our houses were open, there was mutual trust in society. Can we say as time passes, these values are disappearing? And that's why if we return to our own values,